Hey guys, in here making another video. I know I've been gone a while, so in this live stream, I'm gonna catch up with you guys and sort of talk about what I've been doing, and just hang out and see what happens. So I've been gone a while, so I've basically kind of had this phase where I was working on myself a lot, doing a lot of meditation, doing a lot of um, kind of breath work and um, just a lot of focusing on mindfulness and practice and stuff like that, which was good. But I was doing a lot of it, and I kind of got burnt out. And then I took like a little bit of a break period of like just not doing it as much because I was getting overwhelmed. And then that break period turned into a much longer period of time. So I ended up just kind of relaxing, letting go, and not really doing a lot of mindfulness practices, which is okay. But I kind of came back around and eventually realized that those practices are super important for me to have in order to maintain my mental health. So so I'm back now. I I feel you know better than I was this past month, I guess. I didn't feel bad, but like I definitely wasn't like living intentionally or having a mindfulness practice. So just kind of wanted to hang out and talk with you guys. Hey, Ozi Aru, nice to see you. If you guys have any questions for me or anything, feel free to just put them in the chat or whatever. It's a conversation if you want it to be. So otherwise, I'll just talk about what I've been practicing, what I've been learning, and what I've kind of been up to, and just ramble about random stuff. Because why not? You know. So yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've kind of learned in like the past month or so was was basically that we have these cycles or phases. And oh, sorry, what kind of work do you do? I work at Home Depot, so I'm a just an associate. I sell flooring, so people come to me to have measures done and stuff like that for carpet or vinyl flooring or laminate flooring and things like that. So I help people do their flooring orders and get those set up. That's what I do um, for my regular job. Um, so basically, all I'd been doing was working, coming home, playing games, smoking CBD. Well, I don't smoke; I just vape it. I don't like smoking; it hurts my lungs too much. But that's what I did for the past like month. My sleep schedule got all kind of out of whack. Is it satisfying? Yeah. I mean, it gives me something to do. It gives me something to focus on. It gives me something to sort of go to and fill up my time with. It's not like my dream job. I don't know what my dream job would be at this point in my life. I'm pretty content with where I'm at this point. I don't think I would want to try to um, change too much where I'm at. Um, I think maybe doing some more casual live stream stuff like this, or just making casual videos. I might do some more of that recently. Um, so I've been checking my phone almost every day, hoping to see a video. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I know. I kind of disappeared for a little while there. Um, I was taking a break from everything. I was kind of retreating, I guess. Not necessarily in healthy ways. Just playing a lot of video games and doing a lot of CBD, which is okay. You know, we go through phases and you just learn from them. So I noticed after my psychosis, everything needs meaning. So also work. Yeah. It's all about context and framing your life in a way that makes sense for you. So if you feel like a part of your life doesn't serve a purpose in your life anymore, then obviously that's something that needs to be changed. Like um, so yeah, I definitely agree. Like psychosis kind of puts a context to your life, and it makes you kind of think about what what has value and what doesn't have value. But Home Depot for me, it satisfies what where I'm at right now. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, basically the what I was doing was playing games and doing CBD and just kind of like escaping a lot. That was like kind of what I've been doing the past month or so. And I think all of us do that at some point, and not that it's unhealthy, but it's making sure that we come back to not escaping at some point, come back around, because staying in escape mode is not healthy. So, um, and it also isn't satisfying. Eventually, hey Joey, how's it going? Um, so I think when you continue to escape over time, you run away from a lot of the issues that. Um, oh, you just found my channel. That's cool. Feel free to ask me anything, Joey, if you wanna ask me any questions or anything like that. I've been trying to get TB hemp flower, but they don't get it in Cape Town. Oh, you're in South Africa. That's cool. Yeah, I know. The United States is pretty progressive as far as the hemp goes. It seems like in other places in the world, it's kind of hard to find, even in Europe. But that'll change soon, I think. Especially, it seems like countries are legalizing more and more. Like Spain just legalized marijuana, or they're trying to at least. I should say that they have because I haven't really done the research, but I heard it through the grapevine. So, um, it might turn around. I think hemp flower is definitely something that could become very popular because it's a lot less strong than THC, and it allows people to sort of relax and unwind. Wow, but can I ask you a question of deeper decision, like how ever get more like yourself due to trauma from a bad trip? Do you have bipolar? Have you ever had manic? So those are a few questions. So I'll break it down, Joey. Let's see. So ask me the question about depersonalization, and as you write that question, I'll answer the other ones. Um, like, have you ever get like more yourself? Yeah. So psychosis definitely affects your personality and affects sort of your ability to relate with other people and stuff like that. And I get a lot of people asking me like, does it get better over time? And my answer is yes. For me, it did. So I can't promise that everybody will have the same experience, but if you took a snapshot of me where I am today, and you compared it with a snapshot of where I was like a year or 2 years ago, it's like significantly different, significantly better. And a lot of that is work that I did on myself, but a lot of it is also just time. Um, so it definitely gets better. You definitely have to like actively do things to get better. Like if you just kind of stay um, in your comfort zone a lot, it doesn't necessarily get better because you have to kind of reacclimate yourself to being out and socializing and stuff. And yeah, I was diagnosed bipolar, and I have had manic episodes, but those were closer to my psychosis. I haven't really had any manic episodes recently. I think it's mostly triggered by THC. So I'm pretty good. I'm also on medication, so I think that probably mitigates any manic episodes I might have. But as you're able to kind of understand yourself better through meditation and through mindfulness practice, I think it mitigates some of the ups and downs that people experience, or at least ups and downs that I experience in my life. Hey, sorry, V. He doesn't like being pet sometimes. Um, let's see. Trauma, bad trip. I don't know a lot about Bad Trip. I just know from because I haven't really done that many psychedelics, and the psychedelics that I have done weren't bad trips; they were fine. Um, but basically, not feeling yourself. For example, if you were a heavy talker, and I conversation. Yeah, I did take meds, and yeah, it is hard at first. You feel kind of sensitive and vulnerable after psychosis. And so it's a gradual process of reintegration. The first psychosis I had was much more difficult to reintegrate. than the second one, just because I think I had more experience because of my first psychosis, but also I think I went further in on the first one than I did the second one, so it's easier to come out of it. But it is hard to reintegrate, and it does take time, and it does take practice, and that's something where having a coach or having a therapist or having someone to sort of guide you through that process can be helpful. Someone that you trust and somebody that you really resonate with, because not every therapist or not every coach is going to work for you specifically. How does manic episode relate to psychosis? Is your personal in your personal experience also have you tried LSD or shrooms? You know what I mean? So psychosis is a complete disconnect from reality, where you essentially do not you're in a different state of being. Like you're kind of in a different world. Um, Whereas manic is you have high energy, you make kind of reckless decisions. You're in it's kind of similar. You can have depressive psychosis. You can also have like more manic psychosis. Um, it's I think basically mania can precede psychosis, but psychosis is literally like you were not present in this reality. You can't really relate. Like people will be able to tell that you're kind of disconnected. Hey Joshua, how's it going? Yeah, I remember going through psychosis. It's a different state of perception for sure. It's kind of like being on a psychedelic or mushrooms or something like that. And I have done a small dose of mushrooms. I've never tried LSD. DMT is um, the strongest psychedelic I've done. That's the strongest trip I've ever had. I never did a big dose of um, psychedelics. Yeah, I remember manic episodes. You just really feel like high energy, and you kind of like make reckless decisions and stuff without really thinking about the consequences. Like, people who are in a manic episode might have like a spending spree of something, or they might have increased sexual desire, and they might like sleep with a lot of people, or things like that. But they're both different states of consciousness. Psychosis is far more extreme than a manic episode, but a manic can precede a psychosis. So, but yeah, feel free to ask any more questions. Um, but yeah, so I've been kind of moving into psychosis can break you from autopilot brainwash. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've used psychosis like anything that sort of changes your perception of your life and changes your perception of reality and what it means is going to change your autopilot functions. So you can use that using plant. You can do that using plant medicine. You can do that for meditation. You can do that like psychosis. I wouldn't recommend psychosis to anybody, but it's anything that disrupts your processing or the way you understand the world is going to give you insight into the world or into the way you see the world. Um, the biggest issue with, especially with states like psychosis and plant medicine, is are you able to come back and are you able to ground that information and ground that perception in to be able to function and move forward with your life? Because the problem is when you get caught in those states, then that's when it starts to become labeled as disease or illness, because it's not helping you function in the world. It's becoming a problem with helping you function in the world. So that's the biggest difference. I think some people are more sensitive to substances than others. I've never tried it, but once heard that if you try DMT when you die, it might not release. I was manic due to a bad trip, and I was hyper aggressive, telling people about problems that I could fix. Just yeah. I don't know about the whole DMT not releasing when you die. I don't know how they would actually prove that, so I would take that with a grain of salt. Um, and hyper aggressive, telling people, yeah. I mean, when you're in an altered state or when you're in a state of consciousness that you're not used to, or um, even in a state that you're used to, you still can do things that are not what you normally do. So um, I'm not a doctor, so I can't like diagnose you or tell you what's happening there. But that's yeah, I'm not surprised that that might have happened to you. Just if you can survive it. Yeah. Surviving and then also thriving afterwards, I would say. Because surviving, there's a lot of people who just survive through life, but um, you know, there's a difference between being able to survive it and then move through it and integrate it and thrive afterwards. How has integration therapy helped you besides focusing on more emotion? So therapy for me, the biggest thing with therapy, it's mostly about helping you to reframe your worldview, reframe how you treat yourself, reframe how you talk to yourself. And it's not like an immediate process, it's a gradual process. So it's basically a coach to help you understand yourself and to help you to get a backboard of like, okay, you know, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling. And then somebody who's trained or someone who has an understanding of psychology is able to help you navigate through that. And then weed out some of the stuff that's not helping you, weed out some of the stuff that's not serving you, and give you the tools to be able to cultivate your own garden. So, you know, things like insecurities and things like sort of negative self talk or, you know, um, depression or things like relationship issues like communication issues and stuff like that. Those are things that are really can benefit a lot from like counseling because it gives you someone to talk to that can help you to give you tools to work through those things. That's what counseling is really about. Then the mindfulness piece is becoming aware of what's happening within you and becoming aware of your desires, your impulses, your sort of the things that you down, the thoughts that you have. And so as you become more aware of that, you don't necessarily reach out and grab them, you just allow them to pass away or pass the next thought. Then you're in more control of your life. You're not just grabbing at whatever feels good. You're making a conscious choice to not engage with that thought, and you can completely leave thought patterns away. So, for example, at work, when I'm when I start to get down or I start to get kind of upset, or I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get out of here. I notice the thought. I'm like, okay, that's a thought. Do I have to really engage with that thought? Can I just enjoy being present here? When I let go of the thought, I can just enjoy being present in the moment. That's a practice. You know, it takes time, but that's the difference between mindfulness and therapy. Um, Mindfulness is really like a practice of self knowledge and self understanding and restraint to some degree, of not engaging with certain thoughts that are destructive, but also just observing and being present with whatever's going on and just being okay with that. Whereas therapy is literally helping you to reframe your mind. Both accomplish similar things, but there's a different sort of process involved, I guess. Where you uh, where are you from? Does people laugh or look at you different after you suffered psychosis? I need advice on how to deal with that. Um, I mean, I make videos about psychosis, so I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that I've been through that. And I don't necessarily identify with like psychosis is just part of me. It's not all of me. It's just something that I experienced. So it's not something that I necessarily um, feel ashamed about or anything. If somebody like is judgmental about that, that's like it's their problem. It's not my problem. I mean, it's not something I'll just share with anybody. I feel like if there's an opening where I feel like it'd be appropriate to share with somebody, it's not about me sharing. Like I'm okay with my experience. I don't feel like I need to share it with somebody. But if I feel like it would be beneficial or it might help the relationship in some way, then I might share it. Um, but just know that the people that are genuinely caring about you and the people that actually like are going to be your good friends are not going to judge you for your psychosis. They're going to try to understand what you've been through, and they're going to try to be there in the best way they can. It's overwhelming for a lot of people. I understand that, and I don't blame them. It's kind of an unknown territory, and it's not really. not a lot of awareness about it. So I understand the stigma and stuff, but really, really, buddy, this guy loves attention. He's always trying to get in the center of attention. Silly cat. His name's Oliver. Um, so my advice for that, I guess, would be just you know who you are and know what like how you feel about your experience and trust that more than you trust what other people believe is true about you, and if that's something you really struggle with, I'd recommend some coaching or someone to help you to get through that, because it can be hard to navigate through that kind of challenge or obstacle on your own. So have I seen entities? No, I have not seen entities. I mean, I've had dreams with, you know, different beings and stuff and spirit guides and stuff like that, but I haven't really had that many visual experiences. They've been a lot of like internal feeling experiences or just sensations or um, intuitive messages. I guess that's all I've experienced. So I've heard a neat take on entities in psychedelic states is tapping into different forms of you in different dimensions and not being afraid of them and embracing them is important. Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. I don't really know how it all works, so I'm not going to pretend to know that I do. I know that a lot of dream work is basically it talks about how each part of the dream is an aspect of yourself, and so dreaming into the dream and finding out like what aspect of the dream means what can help you unravel some things. Um, sometimes I'll analyze dreams, but I also think it can be kind of confusing. So I don't necessarily do a whole lot of that work, but I do have really powerful dreams that I sit back and I'm like, all right, like what really happened here? But I'm not really, I don't know, um, what the different dimensions are and stuff like that. I believe that there's other actual physical dimensions that exist, physical dimensions and non-physical dimensions that exist beyond what we can perceive with our own um, animal mind and perception. That we've probably been those places before. Um, I don't think we just exist in this one physical form. This is just a fractal of our whole consciousness that is choosing to identify in this form in this current moment. People said Jesus was out of his mind too. John St. Julian has done some videos on the sacred secretion. Have you ever heard of that? I had my own ego death on December 22nd. It changed my life. Yeah, there's lots of positive, experiences that people have with psychosis or, spiritual awakenings and stuff like that. I try not to glamorize them because for a lot of people, it's not glamorous. Um, yes, I learned a lot about myself in those experiences, but it's not all rainbows and unicorns, and so I tend to stay kind of more on the grounded side with that. So I try not to get too, um, I guess, focusing on the all the positives. I try to have a balance of yes, there's insight, but it's also very difficult and it's also can be very challenging for people. Um, and yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. But yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, he was an amazing teacher. He was an amazing. He was ahead of his time, and a lot of people would say he was out of his mind. But that's that's I don't know. That's I don't know what to say to that. I don't know. Um, so you were going through psychosis. How are you different than normal? Did you ruin any relationships? Do you feel people? Um, so are you asking like how am I different now than I was before? How I'm not sure if I understand the question, but did I ruin relationships? Yeah, I definitely hurt some people. I was not able to. I had a girlfriend at the time, which it wasn't going to work out anyways, but it definitely, the psychosis did not help that relationship. But like I said, it wasn't going to go anywhere anyways. And I definitely hurt her. I definitely could have done a better job sort of letting her down instead of just like completely disconnecting and not really acknowledging her affection or her trying to, be there for me. So, um, are you looking? Do you feel like yourself though? Like, do you think leaders? I mean, I always tell people like, there's no going back after psychosis. For me, it's you had an experience, you can't like undo the experience. So you have to move forward and move in a new direction or move towards something different because you can't undo it. So when people ask me like, are you back to normal? I don't know what normal, like I'm not the way I was before, that's for sure, but like I'm really happy with where I am right now. I'm really happy with where I've moved from there. And so um, I guess I understand like what you're trying to ask me is like, do I feel normal now? Yeah, I feel, I guess I feel normal, but like new normal is always changing. Normal is always adjusting. Every day you feel a little different. Every day you're growing in a new way. And so what feels normal today might not feel normal in the future, So um, I feel like my energy is much better than it was like at my psychoses when I had those. I feel like I'm much more in tune with myself. I'm much more able to identify certain desires that are harmful and move in a different direction than that. So, yeah. I haven't been the same since my psychosis. Things feel weird now. Yeah, things felt weird for me after psychosis too. That got better with time. I can't guarantee that that will get better for you specifically. I don't know. It's hard to know if things will get better for people specifically. All I can do is share my experience. But I did work on myself, and I went to counseling. I took my medication, and um, did I did what I could do, and it got better for me. So um, just know that recovery does take time. So especially if you're fresh out of psychosis, it does take time. But just know that I was able to get through it. So it's possible that you are too. But that's your own personal journey. If you need a coach, then definitely reach out to somebody that can help you through that process. How did you stop your fear of death? I haven't stopped my fear of death. I'm still afraid of death. Um, that's part of being human. I think on some level everybody's afraid of death. Even I'm sure even some like high level spiritual people are still have some fear of death. I don't think that's something you can necessarily just shake off. Um, it's very primal instinct. I'm sure there's some people who may have transcended it, but that's not really my goal in life. If I get to that point, that's cool. If I don't, that's okay too. If you had a chance to look at St. John, he has some really beautiful takes on the Bible and spirituality and esoteric teachings of Jesus. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing, Chrissy. Diet can help with recovery, especially paleo, skip the sugar, and work out. Yeah, I mean, whatever helps you, Joshua. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I recommend the Tibetan Book of Life and Death if you're afraid of death. Yeah, I read that book a little bit. It was kind of dense though, so I didn't finish it. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad I said it right. um, so yeah, I guess print Python. I guess like intellectually, I'm not afraid of death, but what I meant is like my gut response would be to be afraid. Like if I was in the face of death, I would be afraid because I've practiced martial arts and I've been in situations like where just in training, like I might get hurt and I was afraid. So I can definitely say I'm not immune to the fear of death. Um, but as far as like intellectually, my understanding or my understanding of how the universe works, like I don't think that we just end here. I think that like we're always here. We're always like existing. So I'm not afraid of like, when I die, like I don't. think I'm just going to disappear forever or that something bad's going to happen to me. I think that I've been through this cycle before. This is just an experience that I chose to experience, to learn, and to grow. And when I move past this experience, I'll move on to another phase of my existence where I'll learn and grow as well. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, it's possible. I've never died in this life, so I don't know what death is like specifically, but that makes sense. Yeah, I skimmed over the Bardos. I'm aware of Bardos, but I haven't really studied them extensively. Yeah, I mean, Print Python, you kind of have to go on your own journey to find like what resonates with you and what makes sense to you. Because I have my spirituality, and I can share that with you guys, but that's something that you have to kind of discover for yourself and what resonates with you. Because there's going to be a lot of people that claim that they know everything and that they have the answers to the universe. They probably don't. I mean, they have some of them, maybe. I think everybody has some of them, but no one has all the answers. So if someone's saying that they have the answers, I would be like, okay, well, thanks for the info, but like, I'm going to still do my own research. Part of me believes I actually died and somehow ended up on another track of life and perhaps another realm. I have no idea. My experience was intense and it's an extremely long story. It changed me. Yeah, I mean, whatever resonates for you, um, it definitely like pieces and parts of ourselves can die or pass away or let go or move on. Um, I don't necessarily identify with different timelines and things like that. But if that makes sense to you, that's cool. Like I said, there's no way to know who's right or wrong. Not now at least. We don't have the understanding for that. So made you a better person. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. It made me a better person too. I feel like I wouldn't be discussing this with you guys and having this conversation if I didn't go through it. So, it's bringing people together and I feel like I'm sharing. It's helping me. I hope it's helping some people. I feel like you guys wouldn't be here if it wasn't helpful in some way. So, that means a lot to me. You know everything, Joshua? Awesome. Well, uh, maybe you can teach me some things then. The answers to the universe amazing. Extremely confident today that wise response. No one knows everything. Yeah, I mean, it'd be ignorant for me to say that I know everything. I mean, I've had experiences that like, you know, could be true or has led me to certain conclusions about existence and about my life. But to say that that's absolute truth would be very arrogant because I realize that I'm just even think about the size of the earth. Just like my body, my consciousness is in this body, and the planet Earth is like I don't know how many million or billion times bigger than me. So for me to think that I understand the consciousness of the Earth, the consciousness of the universe, even the consciousness of like anything really, like I'm just a small being. To think that I know everything would be like absolutely erroneous. I think we can get to expanded states of consciousness where we can understand more than just what we can perceive from the mind or the ego mind that's identified with a very narrow focus. When you expand your focus to encapsulate much bigger understanding, you can learn more. But even then, it's a limited state of understanding. So there's no way to like a bee understands the universe in a much different way than I do. They can see an ultraviolet. I can't see an ultraviolet, so how would I know what that is to exist in that state? You can go into trance and feel what it might be to be a bee, but I'm still not a bee. I'm just tuning into that vibration or that understanding. So there's a lot of different understandings and perspectives and wisdom that's out there that is not um, at our like we can't fully understand it. We can get glimpses and understanding and gain perspective, but it's different. Have you experienced number synchronicity? Yeah, I have. I don't put a lot of wade into it. I'll just notice it. I'll be like, oh, 1111. Okay, what's going on in my life that maybe might be relevant to that number? And then I just kind of let it go. But I've in the past I've focused a lot on it, and it's it's kind of gotten me down a rabbit hole. So I just kind of acknowledge it and take it as a reminder, or just kind of like, okay, you're doing well. So yeah, Chrissy, yeah, that's how I am. Definitely have theories, but I don't know very much. That's for sure. Synchronicity is part of each part of my awakening. Number 22. That's cool. Yeah. Your vlogs have helped me a lot, bro. You're one of the inspiration behind starting my psychosis vlog. Would you be interested in having a one-to-one convo? Yeah, sure. Just reach out to me on Instagram and we can set something up. We can talk. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. The mandala in the background, what's your take on why this appears in psychedelic states? I don't know. Maybe because it's cool looking and um, people like mandalas, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure why that happens. I saw it for a solid year before my episode, as we call it, started on December 22nd. It all makes sense now, but it was really scary before I woke up. Yeah, psychosis can be very scary. Yeah, synchronicity is like a very common theme with psychosis. Hawks were a big part of mine. 1111 wasn't really a big part of mine, but Christ was a big part of mine. I'm not Christian, but I respect Christ, um, and I think he was a good teacher. I don't think he was the Son of God or anything like that. I think we're all as powerful as Christ was. I think most likely the texts were manipulated because the church used it to control a lot of people using fear. Um, because if you just look at history, you can see that the church used a lot of fear techniques, and the Bible was put together by people, and the scriptures were chosen specifically for that Bible. The Bible didn't come pre-written and like um, in in the bundle that it's in, and also the texts were written like significantly after the appearance of Christ. So to me, there's a lot of, if you think about telephone, like now there's a lot of telephone going on with the Christianity religion, and I don't have anything against Christians or anything like that, but I think that the initial messages that Christ put out have been very much um, kind of watered down and probably altered and manipulated to um, favor certain institutions or groups of people. Um, so that's my theory. I have nothing against Christ. I have nothing against Christians. I think Christ is a beautiful figure, and I do think that he was an amazing teacher. I do think that he existed for sure. But he was, in my opinion, he was more like an enlightened or like a very highly spiritual person, not necessarily the Messiah or someone who was blessed by God. We're all blessed by God. Every single thing in existence is blessed by God. Everything is consciousness. My psychosis started by me staring at the moon, and suddenly Elon Musk became the Antichrist. 2 years have passed, but it's still unexplainable experience. Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, my second psychosis was the trigger was me hugging a girl. So it's really, for people who don't understand psychosis, um, it can be very confusing and hard to understand. But I totally understand, totally. Um, you know, if you tell someone on the street like, "Oh, I went crazy because I hugged a girl," they'd be like, "Bruh, what is wrong with you?" Be like, "I don't know, but that's what happened, man." So I understand. So I'm curious. There's a lot of people in here right now. So like, is there anything that you guys would like to see on my channel, or like anything that you're interested in? Um, I know I've asked this before, and I didn't do what you guys told me to do, but I'm just curious what you guys are interested in learning about, or what you'd like me to talk about in videos. The psychosis triggered deja vu. I don't know. I don't know about deja. I didn't really have any deja vu when I was in psychosis. Like I guess I had feelings of like I'd been there before, or I'd had that like feeling of connection before, stuff like that. But I don't. I'm not really familiar with like the effect of deja vu. I've never really like thought about it that much, so I'm not really sure. I saw the Christ within me on December 25th. Believed I was pregnant. Obviously, I wasn't, but could tell something beautiful and terrifying was happening while I was in the psychosis. Yeah, Christ showed up for me in my psychosis several times too, and like in really synchronistic ways that I can't really explain. Like it's just like I don't even know how all that stuff lined up the way it did, but it did. You know, I'm like, wow, okay, this is just when I was like starting to doubt my experience. I'm like, okay, like this isn't. I'm not really. This isn't happening. And then like another synchronicity thing would happen to be like, oh shit, it's happening. Like I'm awakened. It's unmistakable. That's I think some of you guys might be able to relate with that. I haven't gone full blown psychosis. My theory is that certain filters are removed, but some are still there, so it causes a distortion of perception. Do you agree? Yeah, possibly. I think that I'm not sure. I don't know. I think psychosis can be a lot of different things. I think the biggest thing is like hmm, a lot of it is like it's a different state of being. So like you kind of flip into a different world. It's like being on mushrooms or something. Like you're literally in a different state. So yeah, some filters are turned off because I felt a lot less inhibited by my ego and by like my rational mind. I felt like I was kind of free in some ways. I wasn't like afflicted by the demons that I've accumulated over my life of like you can't do this, you can't do that. I was like, woo, fuck that, I can do whatever I want, kind of thing, you know. And so that's the filters are gone. So you're kind of impaired in some way. So I agree that there's some filters gone. And because of that, you're able to tap into some different parts of yourself that you're not easily able to tap into normally. So that's where I guess some of the insights might come from psychosis because some parts of yourself might be turned off. That's just my theory, but I agree with you for sure. I could relate with your experience a lot. Mine wasn't drug induced, but I had a lot of similar things. Yeah. Um, I felt like I was complete. I grew up with anxiety, always feeling like something was missing, like my soul, my body finally. Yeah, I've had like no, I had fear, but I didn't have like the chronic anxiety during my psychosis. It wasn't until afterwards when I was recovering that I had a lot of anxiety, social anxiety, just general. And I think that's also just because you come from a state of feeling ecstatic and connected to things and like feeling like you're on top of the world and you have a purpose in life and stuff to not having any of that. And that's very distressing and very depressing and very hard. And it's very anxiety inducing. So that's a hard process to go through. Um, so that's why I made that video about depression after psychosis, because that shit's real for sure. I went so inside myself and felt so in tune with my heart. Still to this day, I can feel my heart so strong, but it's a positive thing. Yeah, definitely. I tuned into parts of myself that I didn't know existed before because of my psychosis. Like I am much more in tune with my intuitive aspect of myself, and I've developed that more and more every day. Well, not every day. Some days I definitely am not developing that very well, but other days I am. I'm doing a very good job. So good job, Hayden. Pat on my back. I think our brain is one giant filter, the greatest one, so consciousness could experience this life. Can't know for sure though, and that kills me sometimes. Yeah, I mean, if you think about the universe and like the vastness of it, and like all the different things we can perceive and experience, narrowing down the experience to one specific vibration or one spectrum of experience. So if you think about like the spectrum of light that we can see, the visible light spectrum, just narrowing it down to that makes living a lot less. It makes it a lot more able to deal with it and process it. If we were able to perceive all of those different things at once, that'd be overwhelming. So I think, like you said, it's narrowing it down to be able to experience this experience and focus on certain aspects of our development as a soul. Again, these are all my opinions, which could be very wrong. You know, we could die and then just nothing happens after that. That's very possible. But based on my life experiences, I would strongly not agree with that, because if you think about water and everything and matter, even science is like anything that's been created. Well, nothing can be created or destroyed. It's just transformed into something else. So, you know, like I think if there's a blueprint to the universe, it's probably going to follow the same script, you know. So if we have these experiences and all these things that we've done in our lives, and we've had these, you know, learning and growing that's been going on, why would it all be for nothing? Why would it just end? You know, there's something that must continue on, because that thoughts and experience are physical things. Like the in Buddhism, they believe that thoughts and things like that are actual physical. They have a physicality to them, um, and so those things have an actual. You can measure them. We can't measure them with scientific tools yet. I mean, they can measure brainwaves and stuff, but the process that we go through is a measurable thing, because we can talk about it and be like, I felt this, I felt that, I went through this, and there's a memory there. So to think that that just disappears or goes unnoticed or just vanishes somehow, um, it goes back into the ecosystem. It goes back into the whole structure of the universe, and it ties back into where energy comes from, where creation comes from, and all that stuff. That's, you know, that's the way I see it, I guess. It's all just, you know, we're just hashing it out and learning and growing and having experiences. And we live in an intentional universe, very much so. That's what I've experienced. It's very intentional. It's not passive. Yeah, thanks, Jessica. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, huge believer in energy and vibration, thinking positive, eating clean as possible. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a different path, and you just have to find what kind of path is right for you and what resonates. You know, not everybody can do everything. I definitely, eating healthy is definitely something that's important to me. Might not be important to other people. I think it's generally it's going to make you happier if you're eating healthier because your body's happier. But you know, just because someone doesn't eat healthy doesn't mean that they're not a spiritual person, or it doesn't mean. I mean, everyone's a spiritual person. Some people, I learned that lesson really quick. I told someone I was a spiritual person, and they were like, you know, they kind of knew what they were doing, and they're like, "Oh, you think you're a spiritual person? Well, guess what? You're just like everybody else." It's like, oh, okay. That was a big blow to my ego because I thought I was hot shit back then. I thought I knew all my spiritual stuff. So that was a learning curve. Um, Everybody just experiences life and goes about life in a different way. It doesn't mean that it's better or lesser than anybody else's life. So, pretty much. So, what what would you guys like to see on my channel? I know I asked already, but if you guys don't want to respond, you don't have to. But um, do you guys like the live stream thing? I really like the live stream. I think it's really fun. I enjoy it a lot. I like engaging with you guys, and I feel like I can just be myself. I don't have to be my like, hey guys, it's Hayden here making another video, and we're gonna talk about this today. It's just like, all right, we'll see what comes through, and we'll just talk about it. Of course, I know some of my own experience that when I eat better, my connection to the universe feels stronger. Yeah, definitely. I mean, when your instrument is better tuned and it's better like functioning, you're probably gonna feel better. You're gonna be able to. It's like putting oil in your car. If you don't put oil in your car, or you know, put clean gas in your car, it's gonna start to not function as well. So it's the same with the human body. Also, I've experienced that thoughts create reality. I've found that could roll a die and get to land on a certain number. So I think that the fact we just changed our reality shows that we are above physicality. Hell yeah, I love this dream. Awesome. Do you believe in chakras? Do I believe in chakras? I personally have not. Well, my answer is I believe in energy nodes in the body. Yes. Do I believe specifically in the chakra system? I think it definitely could exist. I haven't like personally seen all of the different nodes and stuff, but I do think that there's different energy nodes in the body that hold certain vibrations. I've done Reiki for a while now, so I've like worked on people and I can feel energy moving in the person. I don't necessarily I don't go by the chakra system. I go by what I feel in the body. So if there's a place in the body that is blocked or is locked, or there's a place that needs to flow, then that's what I focus on. There's energy nodes throughout the whole body. So whether you want to call it the chakra system or the energy system, I mean there's across cultures there's an energy system that has been talked about. Like you talk about in China or Japan, the chi or the ji. Um, um, in Native American, I don't know, in Hinduism, it's the prana. So it's like the energy's there, whether what you want to call it. Chakra, I think, comes from specifically like the Indo region, like in India and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, it's possible, but I don't like necessarily like be like, well, this is the center, this is the center. This I know about them, but I don't necessarily focus on those things. I focus on the whole person. I don't focus on just like one part or one chakra because they're all connected. So, um, but yeah, back to your thing, print Python. Yeah, I think we definitely have an influence over our reality, and thoughts to some degree create reality. But I also think there's some things that are, I don't know. I think maybe when you get to a certain state of consciousness where you really understand you're so big that like you can kind of carve your path for yourself, it's possible that you have full control of your life. But I definitely think there's things that are above conscious perception. Even with years of practice, that are like we're still animals, so like we're still at the whim of kind of the universe. And I think overall the grand scheme of things has more pull than we individually can like um, do for ourselves. Like we have a lot of agency in our life, but I also think that we're here for to learn specific things. So those specific events or those specific kind of triggers or kind of learning experiences will happen in our life. So I don't think we have control over those because we chose to come here and experience those. But I don't think we have like um, you know shit can still happen to you basically, even if you're like an enlightened person. I think that like the Dalai Lama had like health issues and stuff, and he's like revered as this really um, you know enlightened person. Like he's still human, he's not immune to things. But I do agree that the impact of the thoughts definitely can have effects on the body. Like I've heard of people healing their bodies using meditation and stuff. I personally haven't experienced that specifically, but I believe that it's possible. But I think there's limits to it as well. It's not just like, oh, just think away your cancer. It's not that simple. It's possible, but it doesn't always work. All right, I gotta catch up here. Let's see. I also have experience. Yep. Do you the chakras? I think chakras are just reference point. Yeah, chakras to me, it's just like it's a guide. It's a place to start. It's an oversimplified system, but it helps you to sort of understand how energy flows. Like Reiki is like an intro to energy work. It helps you to understand how the energy flows and you can feel it and stuff like that. But I'm not like the in the Reiki. They say you need to get the initiations to do energy work. I'm not sure if I buy that. I've had the initiations, but it's like I could teach any one of you guys how to do energy work without getting initiated into like or having like a thing from a Reiki master. I think some of it's just I don't know. It might not be bullshit, but I think some of it's bullshit just to keep you in a monetary loop to pay for initiations and to move up. Which a lot of the Reiki training is like one day. Like you can't teach someone how to do energy work in a day. It takes practice. Animals, we are in the zoo. We are like solar panel. Yeah, we gather energy. We are energy. Everything's energy. But yeah, reference points. Yeah, we don't have full control. There's greater flow of play. Yeah, there's a greater flow of play. It's a good way to put it. Like we're like little drops in a river, so we can kind of move around in the river, but the river is the guiding force. And we go back to the ocean at the end of the day. Well, maybe not the for some people today it depends how close you are to the ocean. If you're locked in a glacier, you might take a while to get back to the ocean. Loop experience and psychedelic state have me had me have a relation to think. Is this what people with Alzheimer's feel? I'm trying to understand that. Hold on. A loop experience in a psychedelic state had me. Uh, I'm not sure I understand that question, Joshua. If you could rephrase that. Hey man, any life tips, Joe? Um, just do your best. Be gentle with yourself, and just have some fun. Just seek your truth and be true to yourself. I guess I still work on that every day. A lot of things that I still work on, but I guess that would be my life tips. If there's something specific, I mean, I'm not like a guru or anything, so I don't really have the answers for you. Um, my my go-to would be trust your own voice, trust your own intuition, and ask for help when you need it. Don't try to do things on your own. I did that a lot when I was younger, and I ended up going crazy. So make sure you ask for help when you need it. Do you think negative entities are a threat or not really, just on their own frequency? That's a great question, actually, because I was at a Reiki practitioner place, and they focused a lot on negative entities, and I never really like identified with that. I only really had one experience where I experienced maybe a negative entity, and I moved into a new place, and I kept having nightmares, and I don't normally have nightmares, and I kind of had the inclination that maybe there was like a spirit there or something in that home. And so I was on the like in my dream I was on the porch, and there was this like ghost that was like rocking on the porch, and it was kind of like this haunted house. And I got scared and I woke up, and I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening. That was like 3 nights in a row I had nightmares, and that doesn't happen. I'm like, okay, something is up here. So I did like a little ceremony, and I was like, if anybody's in here that's like, that's causing me harm or is not supposed to be here, like you're not welcome here. Like you have to leave. You're not gonna stay here. And after that ceremony, I did like a little ritual. After that ceremony, I did not have any nightmares in that room. So I've experienced that. Could have been an experience. Could have been my mind. It could have been something that was totally created, but that was my experience with like a negative entity. So I think it's possible. And I've done like a house clearing with Iggy, who's my teacher, shamanism teacher. I did a house clearing with him. He said he's done a lot of house clearings. He said a lot of it is just like people's own demons coming out, like their own like projections. But he said there are sometimes some rare cases where he's legit working with like some negative entities. But generally they don't bother people. Um, but yeah, the place that the Reiki center, or the place that I was learned Reiki from, they focused a lot on negative entities and attachments and stuff, and I just didn't really resonate with that at all. So I don't really focus on that much, but I think I'm not going to discount that that's a possibility. I think the spirit world is probably similar to this world in some ways, where there's sort of more malicious entities, and then there's some positive entities as well. So just kind of depends. Got to take a break. I look forward to your next live stream. Please check out Johnson Jones. Michael, love to hear what you think. Okay, I'll take a look. I'll watch a few of those videos. Okay, yeah, I'll take a look. Cressy. What's the best dose for transformation for psychedelics? That's something you have to discover for yourself. That's something that you have to do research. and I don't have a ton of experience with psychedelics. I've only done DMT on accident, and I did a small dose of mushrooms, and I've used cannabis. Um, you really need to do your research. You need to be with somebody who knows what they're doing, um, and you need to be in a place that's safe. And always start with a low dose. It's better to not have enough than to do too much. So I would say if you're going to do that, which is your choice, you need to. I would recommend starting low and building up. It's not like it's not like oh, let's do a bunch and see what happens. That's a recipe for a disaster. I suffer from numerical dysynchronicities. It's taken over my life where I find it hard to function daily. I believe that there's a message in numbers. Hard to explain. I understand what you mean because I mean, I don't know exactly what you're experiencing, but I experienced something similar with my psychosis and seeing synchronicities and stuff. Um, what I had to do when I was experiencing a lot of synchronicities was kind of let go of them. So, sort of like a meditation, when you're obsessed with a thought or obsessed with a certain thing, you observe it and you let it go. And it's going to take time to practice. But meditation is really helpful for that. But you have to learn how to, when you notice that you're attached to a synchronicity or notice you're attached to, like, oh my gosh, I just saw another thing. Okay, that's fine. You noticed it, but you just let it go. Don't create another storyline after that. And if you do create another storyline, that's okay. But just learn to let go of that storyline. And you'll start to notice that you won't feel as identified with that story of numerical synchronicities over and over. Because at some point you probably chose to seek out those numerical synchronicities and then became something you latched onto to feel better or to like feel like there's direction in your life. So just learn to let go of that story and it should change. That would be my recommendation. I guess that's what helped me. So I don't know if it'll help you, but that's what I did, and it helped. Negative entities I feared. I listened to a vid that said it is just you in another dimension that is trying to contact you. As the light attracts the dark, you need one for the other. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know what the negative entities are. Like I said, I don't know how it works, but it's very possible. Also notice that a lot of psychedelics users have this background. How does it relate to psychedelics? Is that the visual that you see in times talks about? What are you referring to, Joskin? A lot of psychedelics users have this background. How does the background like the mandala? Is that what you mean? Um, um, let's see. I also noticed me and a few hands. Yeah, my room background. Yeah, so this I guess like mandalas and stuff like that are like common in psychedelic experiences. I don't know why that is. I think that's just the way it happens. Yeah, that's one of the mysteries of the universe. I guess we'll find out when we die, maybe. It just is that way. Um, Me and my friend went to this Disturbic house as soon as we stepped in. There was like a dark cloud surrounding the area. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely creepy things that happen. I think there's definitely more often than not, there's a lot of projection and fear that's projected outwards that we kind of believe is like an entity there or like something that is coming into our space. But more than likely, it's just a projection of our fears. But it's possible. Like I said, I had that experience with that spirit or ghost in my room that may or may not have been true, but that's what I experienced. So um, more often than not, I think it's projection, but sometimes it might be an actual thing. Wait, how did you do DMT by accident? What happened? I'm curious. Thanks for explaining the transformation thing. So safe advice. My highest dose was 2.4 into cannabis. So basically, what happened? I talked about it in my video, but basically, what happened is I went to this guy's house and I kind of abbreviate it, but I was like smoking a lot of pot and I was really high. And we went to his friend's house and he picked something up and came back home. He was mixing two things together, and I thought he was mixing two strains of pot together, like indica sativa or whatever, to like get a certain effect. And so I didn't really think about it, and I was like so spaced out that I didn't really like pay attention. And then he handed the bong to me and he said, "Take a big hit out of this and hold it as long as possible." So I did, because I was just like, oh, whatever. I was just like completely baked. And then that's when I had my psychosis, or not my psychosis. That's when I had my DMT trip. So that's what happened. That happened, you know, by accident. But you know, I was inviting that kind of experience into my life. I was very desperate to have some kind of spiritual awakening or have some kind of like revelation about life and like move beyond the ego. And I was like very much like seeking something very extreme. So in some ways, like we're talking about how your thoughts create reality, my thoughts were creating that situation. I was inviting that kind of intense experience into my life. And I take responsibility for that. Like I tell people now, like, be careful what you wish for. I've had someone come up to me and say, like, told me I want to have the most experience, like spiritual experience possible, and I'm like, okay, like, be careful what you wish for, because spiritual experiences are not always pleasant. Oftentimes they are not pleasant, because growth usually does not come from the blissful experiences. It helps you to like gain perspective, but usually the the bulk of the learning comes from challenges and struggles. So if you really want a spiritual experience, like, be careful. Like, I mean, have fun with it, but it's not necessarily going to be a fun ride the whole time. Let's see. I like how you explain the number to where the psychosis having the same recurring thoughts like a loop. It can be, Joshua. It can be kind of like a loop. Um, it's there's a lot of loops. Um, there's also, yeah, it's it's not necessarily like a loop, like where you get stuck on a thought loop, like, when you're high on cannabis or something, where you like have the same thought over and over again. It can be like that sometimes. For me, it was more like I was on a mission. Like the whole time I was like on a mission, and everything kind of related to that mission, or everything had some like kind of overall purpose. And so it was more that the themes of the psychosis were pretty consistent for the most part. It was always like relating to something greater than what was actually happening in the moment. And so in that way they were circular or loop thoughts, but it was more that they were on theme with a certain kind of trend or something like that, if that makes sense. Yeah, I want to do DMT, and it's hard. Yeah, that's up to you. I wish you the best luck on your journey. I probably will never do DMT again in this life. I think I have other tools that I can use for self development. I think it can be a very powerful tool for development, like all psychedelics and plant medicine. But for me, it's definitely a very dangerous and precarious path to go down. But I hope that it helps you in the way that you're looking for. I always ask people to think about what purpose they're looking for in seeking psychedelics, because sometimes the answers can be given or can be offered through the plants, but at the end of the day, the answers are within ourselves. So the plants just help illuminate that to some degree, but the work has to be done by the person to get there. And I'm not trying to dissuade you from making your choice. I just want you to make your choice, with the most information possible. So really think about why you want to do it. Because I wanted to do it because I wanted to escape, I think, and I wanted to feel better than what I was, because I was feeling miserable. And that's why I pursued spirituality, because I wasn't feeling good about myself, which turned out to be, I'm glad I did pursue it, because now I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot. Um, Psychosis, it's very hard to explain to somebody who hasn't experienced it, because it's you're not like you are like in this rational mind. It's like it's I was gonna make a video about an analogy for psychosis. It's kind of like being thrown out into the ocean, and you're kind of like half drowning, half swimming around. You're kind of thrown out to sea, and sometimes you see some really beautiful and magical things like understandings and things like that. Like you see some, like the ocean is just like a magical place. It's like some scary things, some really interesting and amazing things, and sometimes you're drowning, and sometimes you're fine. You find a log, you get some um, a little break, and then slowly over time, for some people, they are able to come back to shore and come back to grounded state where they're not just lost in thought and delusion and hallucination and things like that. It's the ocean is similar to like going taking THC or taking psychedelics. The difference with THC and psychedelics is you come back after a certain time period, whereas psychosis, you're out there for who knows how long, and it depends, on the person how long you stay out there. So it's a ride for sure, and it's a ride that lasts longer than psychedelic. Yeah, I stay away from THC. I don't mess with THC because that's what triggered my second psychosis, so I stay away from it. That's a great question, Joshua. Let me get to that. Let me see if I missed anything else. Because that's the reason I respect. I wouldn't do it if I have fun to have fun, although that would be cool. Yeah, I mean, people do it to have fun. I personally would not do it. I mean, I might do it to have fun if I could, but I obviously can't. That's not a possibility for me. So, um, yeah, I mean, you have to figure out what's right for you. It's your path. So everything I say is just based off my experience. So you have to do what's right for you at the end of the day. But obviously, you're welcome to ask me questions. What is a valuable lesson that you would tell your younger self if you had to time travel in preparation to your psychotic state? Hmm. I would say breathe, relax, let go. Um, you know, just just let go, and um, don't resist the experience. Um, just kind of allow it to happen, but breathe, and try to move within yourself and find your center to some degree. Because a lot of my life was afraid of being here. I was out here. I was away from myself because it was uncomfortable to be here. And so I would probably tell myself, like, just breathe, relax, come back home, come back home. And so that's probably what I'd tell myself, to come back home, because that's where the peace is. That's where, the relaxation is. That's where your center is. And that's where grounding is. So that's what I would recommend. Yeah, I only smoke CBD as well. I vape CBD. I have a big shoebox full of CBD. I love it. It's great. That's a great question, Joshua. Maybe I'll make a video about that. I always say maybe I'll make a video about stuff, but then I never do. I'm kind of a spontaneous person. I don't like planning stuff. Um, I had a psychotic panic attack when I was making bad drugs and THC. Yeah, I mean, I really like CBD. It's mellow. You can still function. Doesn't trigger anything for me. Um, I don't know if I'm like allowed to talk about vendors on here or not, but WNC CBD is a really good vendor. I just got an order from them. They have really high quality, and it's not super expensive, and it ships to your house. So that's a place that if you're interested in checking it out, um, I would recommend them. Um, yeah, I just have was having these crazy neurotic fear states with THC. Felt like worse fears were reality, but it's also in the middle of a spiritual crisis. Yeah, yeah. THC is definitely can trigger psychosis and anxiety and panic attacks and stuff like that. CBD hemp direct is pretty good too. Okay, cool. Yeah, Goat Ridge Farm is good too for outdoor. I've been leaning more towards indoor grown just because the quality is a little bit higher, but Goat Ridge Farm is pretty good too as well. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you guys want to see what I have. I've got a little shoebox full of it. I don't know if I'm allowed to show this on my stream or not, but I guess YouTube will let me know if I can't. So I've got my little shoebox. I wish WNC sent me a sticker, but this is like my stuff. Oops. And I've got all my little jars labeled with all the different CBD. Um, so yeah, that's my little stash. Little jars. So I've obviously got Boveda packs in there. You want to protect your terpenes and stuff. But it's nice to have something just with a meditation. Obviously, is good. Um, is what generally I use to unwind or ideally the biggest thing with any kind of substance or any kind of relaxing thing is making sure you're not using it to escape. It's just as a tool. Because I've noticed that if I use it to escape, that's when dependency starts to happen. Like I was using it this past month, and I was getting not like physically dependent, but I would like have like the urge to like vape when I got home, and I'm like, oh, like I need to vape or whatever, and that's just because I was running away from my problems and not addressing how I was feeling. So if it's something that you're using just for fun or something that you're using as a tool, I've found it useful as a tool for self reflection, like THC is too, but it's like less intense. So I've used it for that too. But I've noticed that I was using it as an escape before, and so that's something to look out for if you're using any kind of substance. That it's not something you're using to run away from your problems, but using it as something to enhance your life and something to sort of um, just make your life a little cooler. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of similar. It's a lot less strong than THC. It's a very you'll definitely recognize the feeling if you're used to doing THC. You'll feel a little stoned, but like you're still functional and it's much more low key. There's indica and sativa just like with regular THC. So the sativa is a little bit more energizing, a little bit more heady, and it's a little bit more you can still function more. The indica is going to be a little bit more of a couch walk feeling, but it's not as intense as THC. It's much more subtle, but you'll definitely notice it, especially if you're using flower. It's I use Boveda packs, so you want to make sure if you have hemp flower, you want to make sure that it's in an airtight sealed jar, and you want to make sure it's not exposed to the light. That's why I have it in a shoebox, so it's protected from the light. And you want to have some kind of humidifier pack that is designed for cannabis and hemp flowers. So it's called Boveda, which I'll put in the chat here. Boveda pack. You can look it up online. Um, for hemp and cannabis, I think it's a 68% humidity that you want to maintain those terpenes and stuff, and that just keeps the flower fresh for a while. So that's something that if you have flower in a jar, something that you definitely want to put it in there to keep it fresh. Okay, Joe, that's did you let's see, first time a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I mean mushrooms are really strong. I mean that's one of the stronger substances out there. I mean, it's powerful. It's a powerful plant. Is are mushrooms considered a plant, or I guess they're fungus, but I don't know if fungus are considered a plant or not. Um, but yeah, mushrooms are powerful for sure. I don't have a ton of experience with it. I think the most I took was 2 grams. and they were old mushrooms, so they didn't have the potency that they did at the beginning. So I didn't really trip that much. I just kind of felt I saw like I had more like visuals in my mind, like I was sort of like more dreamy, and I felt like a body like buzz, like I was like kind of body high. But I never like saw any visuals or anything like that. I've had more visuals with THC than I've had with mushrooms. Actually, like full on saw visuals with like the THC. I had to like go lay down and like the area around me, like my body, like the space around me was so like it's kind of distant. Like I was like in a different place and like the visuals were like pulsating and I could see colors and stuff. It was pretty intense. Yeah. Yeah, like your mind space kind of like opens up and it's like you're kind of like in a dream, but you're like still awake in some ways. That's kind of how it felt. Hmm. So I, it kind of made me get a new perspective on the chaos versus order stuff. I felt really chaotic and understood the importance of order. I had some clear eye visuals. I'm really sensitive to hallucination. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you had some insight, Joe. What do I do for work? I work at Home Depot, so I'm a flooring salesperson, associate. So I basically help people pick out flooring for their houses and um, help them set up measures to get their houses measured for carpet or hardwood or vinyl or laminate flooring. Um, so that's what I do, Home Depot. Um, yeah, it's a nice job. I like it. The management's good. I feel like if you're working at a job and the management team is are good, your job's going to be good. You know, like if you work at a place where the management's not great, the job's not going to be fun. And I've worked a lot of different places with a lot of different managements, and like the places that I enjoyed the most were the ones where the managers were the most like respectful and like had the healthiest kind of communication and feedback loop kind of response. The ones that were not fun were the ones that like would just yell at you for no reason and like blame you for things and get mad and were just irrational. Those are the ones that I really did not like, but I learned a lot from. So now when I go to a job for an interview, I get a feeling immediately. I'm like, okay, this place is not a place I want to work. I can tell that it's chaotic. Like I got an interview at Lowe's and I could just tell everyone was stressed out and they offered me more money at Lowe's when I was interviewing, but I could tell that the situation would be less desirable as far as like for my mental health. So, oh, Taylor, just the whole coconut milk. Sorry, I didn't respond. Taylor's my girlfriend. She's asking me what kind of coconut milk we need. Just the regular kind, I guess. Um, I'm making lentil curry. I need coconut milk for it. How has my spiritual life affected your work life? Um, that's a good question. Yeah, Taylor's the best. I love her so much. Super cute. Um, hmm. Spiritual life affected my work life. I guess spiritual life gives me context for my life. It helps me to understand and get a reference point for sort of what direction I want to move in and how I want to orient myself towards my life. So in some ways, work is a spiritual practice for me because if I start to get kind of frustrated or if I start to get kind of bored at work or things like that, those are emotions and those are things that I can use as practice for spirituality. So I kind of view my work as like an extension of my practice of life, of growing and understanding and development. Um, so they're not really separate in that way because it's just life, you know. Um, dealing with their own situation. Yeah, do you mean the managers, Joskin? Like the managers dealing with their own situation? I work in the pipe fitters union. It's a big company, and the relationship between management and union sucks. There's a lot of tension. It makes work annoying. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, it's. I've worked in places where the communication isn't good, and then corporate is like got their own plan, and they come down. They're not aware of what's going on in the store, and it's just not fun. Yeah, and a can, Taylor. Um, just canned coconut milk. Like you can go to the like the Asian section, get like the Thai milk, like the Thai curry, or the not the Thai curry, but the Thai coconut milk, the whole one. Let's see. All right. No, it's not the same girl I was dating during my break. Um, the one I the one I had during my break was that was a long time ago. That was in 2012. We broke up like basically during the break. Am I still using cannabinoids? Yeah, I am. I use CBD hemp flower. I don't use THC. Um, so Jessica said, yeah, yeah, yeah. Everyone's dealing with their own situations, but I'd rather work in a place where people have ability to cope with their situations and respond healthily to their employees than a place that doesn't. So yeah, CBD has been a great addition to my life because I did miss the THC. Um, it's nice to have something to um, alter your state a little bit sometimes, just because it's fun, you know, and it can provide some learning too. I've learned a lot from CBD, um, but you get drug tested, Joe? Yeah, so hemp flower has like point most hemp flower has like point 0.5 total percent THC, so it's a low amount. So um, if you get tested a lot, it's probably not a good idea to do hemp flower. But you can get CBD isolate where it's just CBD. It's still not guaranteed that you won't fail the drug test, but like it's got no THC in it. So if that's something you're interested in, you can definitely check that out and do some more research on it. Um, but yeah, how do you feel about using CBD instead of Western medicine? What do you mean like instead of what? Instead of because Western medicine is pretty broad. Like I I don't think it's I wouldn't like discount traditional or Western medicine. I don't think it's fair to discount any kind of medicine. I think Western medicine is really good at doing certain things. I think it's really helpful in a lot of aspects of medicine and stuff. Um, so to discount all of what Western medicine just for CBD, I think CBD is an additional tool to use. I don't think it's good to replace it. And if you're on medication, definitely check with your doctor to see if CBD will interact with your medication because it does interact. It has the same effect as like grapefruit does. So I know people who take blood thinners can't take CBD because it affects the enzymes in your liver, which can which can affect the metabolism rate, the metabolization rate of the medication for blood thinners and other medications. Is CBD isolate mostly for pain reduction? Um, CBD is used for a lot of different things. I mean, you can look it up. It's helpful for like uh, pain reduction. It's helpful for anxiety and like they talk about all kinds of things like depression and stuff like that. Um, I don't think it's like a cure for any of those things. I think it just like it's like anything. It just helps with it. Um, It's similar to THC in some ways. It's a lot less strong. It's a lot less. Well, some people describe it as like taking a shot versus drinking a beer. So it's kind of similar in that way, where it's a lot more lightweight, but it kind of has a feeling of its own. It's a little bit different than THC. But if you've smoked THC before, you'll definitely recognize how it feels. You'll be like, oh, this is definitely like the same plant. Like I can definitely feel that. Um, and I still use traditional medicine. Yeah. I still take my medication. I take risperidone. I have it here on my desk. So I take zero point 0.5 milligrams every day because it helps me. And my doctor said that CBD doesn't interact with it, so I can take CBD. Um, so yeah, I agree with you, Brent. Yeah, if I do a lot, I can get pretty toasty for sure. Like if I do, I have a vape that I use. I don't know where it is right now. I have like a concentrate vape, which I use concentrates for. So I have like THC free isolate that I use for this vape, and then I use flower for stuff that has just the regular flower. I don't know where my vape is. Oh, it's charging. So this is the vape that I use. It's Utilian, and the vape, this vape is Utilian too. I like their brand. But yeah, this goes. It's got a bong attachment to it or water pipe attachment to it. So then I put it in here, and that's what I use. Because I don't really like smoking. It's too harsh on my lungs, and I don't feel like being a smoker lunged person. So I mean, it's a lot less bad for you than tobacco, but it's yeah, it's still not good. It's still smoke. So vaping is a lot healthier. So I haven't really noticed an impact on my lungs at all. Yeah, just whip out a water pipe. I bet you guys weren't expecting that. I was thinking about maybe doing a live stream where I like vape CBD and just talk to you guys, and but maybe not today. Switching to edibles because after a while catches up. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I haven't noticed a big difference with the vaping in my lungs or anything, but I think putting anything into your lungs over time might, add up over time. Do you think you'll ever get off your meds? Yeah, I think so. Someday. Um, I think I'll get off my meds at some point. But I'm also not in a hurry to get off my meds because I don't feel like I need to. I'm on a really low dose, and I talked to my doctor, and she's like, "You're on such a low dose. There's not really like a long term concern as far as health effects go with the low dose, so you don't really have to worry about." I mean, when I'm older, maybe in like my 30s or something, I might get off of it, but I really want to feel like I'm in a solid place in my life, like really solid. Like I'm like, okay, like I feel really good. I'm ready for like the next challenge to tackle. And then at that point, I will maybe consider reducing the dose. But I always tell people like don't try to reduce your dose until you feel like you're really in a solid position where like you can handle another challenge in your life. Because like going off of your medication is not going to make you better. I think there's an illusion that people have that if you get off of your medication, you're somehow going to be okay. You're somehow going to be even better than you were on your meds, which like I understand there's side effects and I understand that that is an issue. Um, but at the same time, there's it's you have to like weigh the like you have to choose which one you want to do. Like it's going to be harder when you get off the medication. Sometimes it's not always going to be the case. Like I don't know that for sure, but the medication helps me, and I know it helps a lot of people, and I know a lot of people relapse after getting off the meds. So um, it's I don't know. Obviously, it's up to people's discretion. Can you talk about some of your experience, spiritual experience that changed you for the better? It's fine if you don't want to get into conceptualizing them. Spiritual experiences. Hmm. I mean, I've had like experiences where I had like two really strong experiences where like I either remembered a past life or I like had a connection with like a past life experience. So like when I was on DMT, I was looking at the guy that gave me DMT, and I kind of discounted this experience at first because um, you're I was on drugs basically, so I was like, oh, it's whatever. But I saw the guy and I was like, I like was seeing him from this different perception, this different state of consciousness. So I was like in this different space, and I like remembered playing with him in a different dimension. Like it might not have even been a physical dimension, that I remember playing with him as a child in this different dimension, that we had a connection in the past somehow with that soul. His soul, we connected somehow in the past. And so that was like one of the past life experiences that like I kind of felt. And then there's another one where I was at the Reiki Center, and I met this guy, and we like both had this really strong connection, and I like felt this visceral like energy surge through my body, and I saw this very profound like image in my mind of being in Hawaii with him. And I looked at him and I said, I'd like want to say like aloha or something. He's like, yeah, Hawaii, right? And I'm like, yeah, Hawaii. And like it felt like we had been together before, and we had a past life in Hawaii at some point, or some kind of tropical place that felt like Hawaii. And so those were some some experiences that having a second one like that, like without being under the influence of drugs, was like, okay, maybe past lives are a thing, and maybe like maybe that's real. I had some other ones like that weren't as intense, but were still kind of there, but they're not really like worth mentioning. So those were kind of things. I don't know if they like made my life better, but it like made me reconsider what was possible, and made me reconsider like what how big the world is and what role we kind of play in existence. So, but I never will tell people that like reincarnation is real. Like, for all I know, like those experiences were just created by me, or were, you know, I, I don't know what's true. I don't know what's real. Um, it's just things that I experienced. So for me, like my experiences point towards, yes, there is reincarnation. There is multiple existences. Um, but that's for everybody to decide for themselves. Yeah, I mean, people have those experiences where they just know, like they don't know how to explain it, but they just know that they were there before and stuff like that. Yeah. So, all right, Joskin, thanks for coming on. It's nice having you on. Good questions. I'm probably gonna start wrapping it up here because I think it's kind of winding down. Um, plus, I think Taylor's gonna get home soon, so I'll probably cook some dinner. I don't know, man. That's pretty blunt experience pointing towards reincarnation. Yeah, I know, but I'm not the kind of person who's going to tell people what's right or wrong or what they should believe. Like for me, that it's a truth for me. Like for me that's real, but it doesn't mean it's going to be real for someone else. They have to discover for themselves what's true. Just got here. Did you freak out on DMT? No, I didn't freak out. I wasn't even able to move my body, so I couldn't really freak out. Um, the experience itself on DMT was fine. It was just afterwards, um, I had the psychosis, just because it was kind of like the last. It kind of like put me over the edge into an altered state where I was like altered, not on drugs, but just like straight up in psychosis. So um, I wasn't freaking out on DMT. It was after the fact that I had the psychosis. But I was kind of headed down that path already to begin with. I think the THC kind of led me down to that point, and then also my worldview of trying to obtain some kind of state of enlightenment, or trying to um, transcend my existence and all that kind of stuff led me down a path of seeking some kind of extreme experience. So I think I kind of brought that upon myself. Um, but you know, you live and learn, and now I'm careful what I wish for. So don't wish for extreme spiritual experiences because you don't know what that is gonna be till it happens, and then you're like, oh shit, that is extreme. So all right, well, I think I might end it there. Um, I don't know what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do my next videos or anything like that, but I'll be around and I'll be making stuff. Might do more live streams or something because it's fun. I enjoy talking with you guys. Um, and well, I'll answer these last few here. I was on a Paxil, could smoke weed all day, and when I quit, my Paxil freaked out. After one, yeah, well, you had a tolerance, so you know when you have a tolerance and then you stop smoking and then you smoke again, you're gonna have a stronger effect from the THC. So that happens. Do you find you are still seeking or just kind of going day by day? Kind of a little bit of both. Like, part of me is really content with where I am, but part of me is also striving to be better and learning to grow and becoming more present with myself and coming back home. Um, and it's a pleasure. Really helped to talk to someone. Please stream again soon. Okay, cool. Definitely. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this stream. I definitely enjoy this format more than just talking to a camera with no response or feedback. So, all right. Well, um, thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll see you next time. If you want to support me, you can donate to my PayPal. It's linked to my YouTube channel. It's totally up to you. I don't expect money or anything like that, but I don't really make money off my channel. So if you want to support me, you can donate to my PayPal there. And if you want to work with me one on one, you can reach out to me through Instagram. I have my services posted on my website. I do like card readings, I do energy work, I do coaching if you're interested in that. I don't really have a set fee for those things. I just it's kind of like a donation basis, so like whatever you can afford. For me, it's more about the exchange of energy than it is the exchange of like I don't really I'm not looking to make money off of it. I'm spending my time and effort, so like it's nice to receive some kind of compensation for that. That's kind of how I view it. So if anyone's interested in that, feel free to reach out to me and we can talk about what we can do. So, all right, thanks for joining me, guys. Remember to seek your truth and to take time for yourself. Bye for now.